The Tennessee Titans, the team with the number 1 overall pick in the draft this season, obviously taking Mr. Cam Ward. Happy to see him leave Miami as a Gators fan. But as always, I'm going to break down losses and additions. More so, I'm going to tell you what they are. And then Derek is going to have the pleasure of telling us what it means. We're going to talk takeaways and things going forward. This was a 3-14 team, obviously tied for the worst record in the NFL, which is why they had the first pick. So let's talk about what they lost. Rudolph himself, goes back up north and rides the sleigh to Pittsburgh. You got Tyler Boyd, who was really a non-factor last year. Westbrook Akine, the anytime touchdown king, now moves on to Miami. A couple of offensive linemen have moved on. A couple of free agents, Raduns, going to the Saints. Harold Landry, a big free agent addition for the New England Patriots. Jerome Baker has moved on to Cleveland, who's going to be a big role now with Jordan Hicks retiring.
I was just going to say he's going to make a massive. Take him. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
No, because he was slated to back up, and now he's taking a big jump forward.
Right.
Luke Gifford moves on to the 49ers. Kenneth Murray with the Cowboys. Chidobe Awuzie, part of that. Hey, we're going to get Jair Alexander and Chidobe Awuzie as the backup there for Baltimore. And then Quandre Diggs and Nick Folk are gone. So a lot of changes, wide receiver room, offensive line, secondary. Then we talk about what they brought in. Obviously, the biggest thing is Cam Ward. If you're a Titans fan, you're hoping we now have our franchise quarterback. We've brought in Tyler Lockett from Seattle, Van Jefferson from the Steelers, along with Dan Moore from the Steelers to be the left tackle. Kevin Zeitler, a solid guard there. Draymond Jones coming from Seattle. A couple draft picks in there. Sebastian Joseph Day coming. A little bit of secondary help with Xavier Woods, and then kicker Joey Slye and Johnny Hekker. I like Hekker because he's good at the fakes. So I will include Hekker in a graphic. I think he's important because he's got an arm on him.
No doubt.
But a lot of changes, but on a 3-14 team, kind of expected, right? It's not like we're going to be like, let's run it back.
Right.
So what do we got here for this 2025 roster of the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big addition was Cam Ward, and you had to move on from Will Levis. It's a sad day. But
companies everywhere are
yes. Yeah. I mean, other than, skill guys in Tyler Lockett and Van Jefferson, they didn't really do much when it comes to the skill positions. Offensive line-wise, they brought in a couple guys in Dan Moore Jr., Kevin Zeitler, which in theory should boost up their offensive line, but Zeitler's coming off a little bit of an injury. We'll talk a little bit more about him. Their center, Lloyd Cushenberry, is going to probably miss a decent amount of time. And then Dan Moore Jr., who they did in, thank God that he's off the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh. I just despise having that guy at left tackle over the last few years. And from all reports that I've seen, he hasn't really been lighting it up in Tennessee. So I still have major questions along their offensive line, mainly the left tackle and a couple interior pieces when it comes to injuries. I think Zeitler should come back and be perfectly fine, but Cushenberry will miss some time.
Right.
Their defense was awful last year.
Really bad.
And they really didn't do a whole lot to add to that side of the ball. So I'm expecting this defense to again struggle mightily, especially when you lose some pieces at linebacker. Didn't bring in a whole lot there to replace the guys that you lost. And in the secondary, last year we thought, you're bringing in one of the best corners in L'Jarius Sneed, and he
didn't play.
He couldn't stay on the field, and when he was on the field, they still had big time holes. I think major points. Yes, you bring in a first overall quarterback, but what is he going to be able to do behind a very so offensive line and their defense? How many points is he going to have to put up, because the defense is going to let some up?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the quarterback position is a clear upgrade, but we still need to see Cam Ward in the NFL, and having a shaky left tackle is not the best for a rookie quarterback.
Right.
I think there's just a clear lack of talent on the roster. They made some changes, but I think we both agree it wasn't enough. But we'll talk about a couple of the guys that they expect to kind of come up big for them because they do have quite a bit of injuries coming into the season.
Yeah.
Just a couple of days ago, I think 2 days ago, Treylon Burks went up for a pass and came down hard, and he broke his collarbone. So a little bit of some variability with this type of injury. The
Yes.
expectation is it's probably going to be at minimum 4 to 6 weeks. They're already expecting him to be out at least the beginning of the season.
Yep.
But if it's a situation where the collarbone was not only fractured but also displaced, which just kind of means moved out of place, and surgeries were, this can take up to 3 months. So,
Right.
we saw it with Hollywood Brown just last season. It's a little bit of an interesting injury, but this is something that, depending on the severity, can take a while. So,
Yes.
Treylon Burks, at the minimum, he's probably going to be out, first couple
Weeks.
weeks. At maximum, he could be out,
2-3 months.
Yeah, good portion of the season. So, this is a guy that's struggled to stay healthy. Had a lot of expectations coming out, but I think it's going to be tough for him this season. But he was slotted to be the wide receiver 3. So,
Yes.
a couple offensive lineman injuries. You mentioned Zeitler. Just a hamstring, coming off the end of the year. Think something pretty small at this point with so much time he's had. But why don't you tell us about Lloyd Cushenberry? Except for an Achilles tear, looks like in week 9 of last year. So, he'll probably have about 10 months of recovery. Where are we thinking with him?
Yeah, I mean, an Achilles, we've talked about Achilles tears a lot more frequently over the last couple of years.
Right.
It seemed to be happening more frequently in the NFL and NBA for that matter. But with Cushenberry, it's a little bit different than, an Achilles tear with a quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Because, these guys are basically, moving 4 or 5 yards at a time.
Right.
Yes, they do have to push off of that ankle, off using that calf. But I think it's one of those things where timeline wise doesn't line up great for Lloyd Cushenberry. I don't necessarily expect him to start the season. He'll probably miss the first month, maybe month and a half of this season. But yeah, like I said, just another major question mark for that offensive line to support Cam Ward.
Yeah, quarterback of the offensive line there at the center position. Will Levis, we mentioned him on another episode. So just a quick kind of, he had a shoulder injury last year.
Yep.
For whatever reason, he waited until this month to get it figured out. He's going to have surgery. It's going to end his season.
Yep.
So I don't think he had any shot to be the quarterback 1 anyway, but obviously just kind of default takes himself out of the race there. So it is Cam Ward's team. Then on the defensive side, L'Jarius Sneed, someone you mentioned who, great player for Kansas City, but has struggled to stay healthy since he's left. End of the season with a quad injury and had a knee scope, which is just kind of clean up the knee surgically. Nothing really major to repair, at least that they reported. He is on the PUP still, but hopeful that he'll be able to return. So kind of a little bit more wait and see on Sneed, but the expectation is that he should be ready for week 1. But we kind of need to get to the point where he needs to get back on the field in these next couple of weeks so we can see him ramp back up. So let's move on to the betting space. We are talking about these Tennessee Titans, 3-14 last season, coming in with a win total of 5.5. So expected to be, almost 3 games better with heavy juice to the over. Minus 160, minus 150, under, catching plus 135 or plus 125, depending where you get it. We'll go through their futures here. Make playoffs between, around plus 350. Miss playoffs as high as minus 500. To win the AFC South, 6-1 or plus 650. To win the AFC, 75 to 80 to 1. And to win the Super Bowl, all the way up to 200 to 1 over on DraftKings. So we'll start off as we always do. Any plays on the win total or future or anything like that?
Yeah, I still think that this is one of the worst rosters in the league, and I don't necessarily think they're going to be 3 wins better. You bring in a guy in Cam Ward, and we've had a couple of rookie quarterbacks that have had hell of rookie campaigns in C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels last year, but Cam Ward doesn't have the roster that those guys had around him to have, a breakout season in his rookie year. So I'm going under 5.5 at plus 125. I think between just having a rookie quarterback and then when it comes to the offensive line, left tackle and your center is probably going to be your two best friends when it comes to quarterback play. So
Yeah.
you're probably going to be missing your center for potentially the first quarter of the season, and you have a shaky left tackle. So we've talked about their defense and how it's not really improved, if any at all. I just don't see where they get to 6. So I'm taking the under 5.5.
Yeah. I'm gonna ultimately stay away from the win total. I think they're anywhere between a 5, 6, 4 to 6 win team. They have a pretty easy schedule. I do think that they are going to be a bit improved just because I thought Will Levis was pretty terrible. So I don't think it could be that much harder to be worse. But the talent, yeah, you mentioned there's question marks. I would probably say if I was going to take a side, it would be the under. I don't love it enough to bet it myself, but I'm definitely not gonna disagree with you in any way. I am not a supporter of this Titans team. Part of the issue is I'm not a supporter of a ton of teams in this division.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the easier divisions. So they might be able to pick up a couple wins we're not seeing, in the division. But hey, we'll see. Now, I will give a little bit of a positive. I talked about it a little bit, probably, revealed the hand there, but I like Calvin Ridley. I'm going to go 1,000 yards on the season, plus 5 over at Bet 365. In the past 3 seasons, he's played more than, 15 games. He's hit this number pretty, last 2 seasons, he's barely hit it, 1,016, 1,017, but he's hit it. And then the 2020, before the whole gambling incident, 1,300 yards, almost 1,400 yards, actually. You were talking about he's in the age 30 season, but he did get to basically take 2 years off with the whole gambling suspension going from 2021 to 2022. So the body, not quite as much wear and tear. I think one team's going to be down and have to throw a ton. Cam Ward's not afraid to throw it up. He might hit some deep shots there. We've seen it a little bit in training camp. I just think almost similar to the Nico Collins situation. You got a quarterback who's going to need to be throwing the ball, and it's just going to give him so many targets. So I think Ridley gets there. But that's my only play for this team. The Tennessee Titans, I don't think either of us are very excited, unfortunately. I think Cam Ward could definitely provide some nice moments this season. Derek ultimately thinks their talent is not there. He's going to under 5.5 wins for this team and getting plus money there. And I'm going to be taking Calvin Ridley 1,000 plus receiving yards at plus 135. Again, kind of a situation. We're expecting this team to be down, having to throw the ball a lot. I think Ridley is a proven guy who is a little bit younger, and then his age reveals due to that suspension. So hopefully Cam Ward and Calvin Ridley can give us some excitement, but unfortunately for Nashville, does not seem like they're going to have a great season.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.